This podcast is not medical advice, therapy, or any form of professional treatment. It's made by someone in recovery who has ADHD, which means I can barely remember to take my own meds. I am not a doctor, therapist, counselor, psychologist, or licensed professional of any kind. Nothing I say should be taken as medical guidance, treatment recommendations, or expert advice. This podcast is based purely on my personal experiences, observations, and commentary. It's entertainment, that's it. If you're struggling with addiction, mental health issues, homelessness, or any serious life situation, please go get help from real professionals. Thank you for listening. Let's do this. You're going to die. Not eventually, but soon. Statistically speaking, if you're listening to this and you're still drinking or using, you have maybe 10 years left, maybe less. The mortality rate of untreated alcoholism or addiction makes cancer look optimistic. But here's the thing, you're also going to die if you get sober. The only difference is that if you get sober, you actually get to live first. And living, really living, not just surviving. It requires believing that something bigger than your addiction is possible. It requires faith that recovery exists, that other people have found it, and that whatever power made their recovery possible might work for you too. You don't have to call it God. You don't have to build a shrine to it. You just have to be willing to believe that your way isn't working and that maybe, there's another way. Hey Labmouths, welcome back to another episode of the Loudness McEvil Symposium, a delightful journey through the psychological wasteland of recovery. My name is Jason, I'm your host, and today I am cannonballing into step 2 and splashing it all over your preconceived notions. Step 2 of AA, NA, CMA, 1,000 other A's. It goes something like this. We came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. I know what some of you might be thinking. Oh, great, here comes another Jesus pitch. And listen, I get it. For the longest time, every time I heard higher power, I could only think about, the fire and brimstone deity from Sunday school. The one that watches us meditate through a cosmic telescope and keeps a running tally of our sins like some divine accountant with serious boundary issues. I mean, think about it. Most of us are raised on the idea of a God who's basically running the universe like a cosmic North Korea. You step out of line and it's eternal damnation. Touch yourself, hellfire. Steal a candy bar. Welcome to the Lake of Fire, home of you and Hitler, apparently, getting the same punishment because, divine justice has all the nuance of fire extinguisher to the face. And they wonder why we have trust issues. There I was, trying to work through step 2 for, it was probably the 17th time. Each attempt had been more spectacular than the last, and it's complete and utter failure. And every single time I kept trying to shoehorn that Sunday school God into the equation. The one that the beard like Santa Claus and judgment like Judy, and the emotional maturity of a vindictive teenager with omnipotent powers. And this God was supposed to restore me to sanity, the same God who apparently designed a universe where the punishment for finite crimes is infinite suffering, where you can burn in hellfire for eternity because you couldn't keep your hands off yourself, or because you pocketed a Snickers bar when you were 8. Let me paint you a picture of eternal suffering. I think we've gotten way too casual about what that actually means. Most people can't accurately imagine a century. That's just shy of 4 billion seconds, if you're keeping track. The Civil War ended 160 years ago, and that feels like ancient history to most of us. But eternity means that after you've been burning for 1 trillion years, a number so large your brain can't even process it, you haven't even gotten started yet. You're not even a rounding error on the timeline of your own suffering. The universe will have died and been reborn countless times, and you'll still be there, experiencing maximum agony with literally infinite suffering still ahead of you. And for what? For being human, for having the audacity to be born with the same drives and impulses that, apparently this all-knowing God built into you in the first place. And that's why I was struggling with step 2. That's part of it. But here's the real kick in the teeth. I was being dishonest about the whole thing anyway, and I knew it. Step 2 requires belief, or at least the willingness to believe. And I was coming at it with, all the genuine faith of a telemarketer reading a script. You can't fake your way through the steps. Trust me, I tried. You can go through the motions. You can say the words. You can fool your sponsor. You can probably even fool yourself for a while. But the universe, the universe knows when you're full of shit, and more importantly, your addiction knows when you're full of shit. Step 1 is about powerlessness, admitting you can't control your drinking or using. But step 2 is about hope. It's about believing in something. It's about believing that something somewhere can do what you can't. And if you're not honest about what that something is, or not, if you're trying to believe in something that terrifies you more than addiction itself, then everything that comes after is built on quicksand. I kept trying to force myself to believe in a God that I fundamentally feared and resented, a God that seemed more interested in punishment than healing, more focused on judgment than restoration. And then I wondered, why it wasn't working. It's like trying to ask for help from someone that you genuinely believe wants to hurt you. The cognitive dissonance alone could, power a small city. Where things get interesting, and where some of you might want to throw your headphones across the room, despite all of my theological hang-ups, despite all of my perfectly reasonable objections to a cosmic dictator model of divinity, there's an uncomfortable truth at the heart of step 2, and that's that addicts and alcoholics need a higher power to succeed. Not all of them, but the vast majority, and the statistics back this up in ways that'll make your secular, rational mind very unhappy. It made mine unhappy, and let me just tell you right now, I'll ruin the surprise. I finally did come to believe in a power greater than myself, for anyone who's wondering. You see, addiction isn't just a physical disease, though it absolutely is that. And it's not just a mental health issue, but it's definitely that too. Addiction it's what happens when a human being tries to solve a problem with a chemical solution. Let me explain what I mean by spiritual problem. I'm not talking about chakras or crystals or finding your inner child. I'm talking about the fundamental human condition. The fact that we're conscious beings trapped in meat suits, aware of our own mortality, capable of infinite desires, but equipped with finite resources, constantly searching for meaning in what appears to be a meaningless universe. That's the spiritual problem. And drugs and alcohol, that's humanity's oldest attempt at a solution. They quiet the existential noise, they numb the cosmic anxiety, they make bearable the weight of consciousness, temporarily at least. But here's the thing, they don't actually solve anything. They just postpone the reckoning. The spiritual principle of step 2 is hope.
Are you tired of actual solutions? Exhausted by meaningful change? Sick of addressing root causes when you could just wish really hard? Well, this is the product for you. Introducing Hope, the revolutionary ideology that lets you feel good about doing absolutely nothing. Amazing benefits include: why fund mental health services, addiction treatment, or affordable housing when you can just hope things get better? Our patented inaction formula means you never have to actually solve problems again. Comes with our insanity loop guarantee. Tried the same failed policy 17 times? Hope it works on attempt 18. Works on both sides of the aisle. Whether you're hoping trickle-down economics will finally work, or hoping that one more task force will end homelessness, Hope keeps you from actually having to do anything. Clinical trials show that 100% of politicians using Hope can avoid accountability while appearing compassionate. Hope is perfect for the opioid crisis. Just hope people stop dying. Homelessness. Hope they find somewhere to go. Mental health. Hope they don't snap. Addiction. Hope they smarten up and just stop doing that. Any systemic problem that requires money and effort, just hope instead.
I used to feel guilty about my town's homeless crisis, but thanks to Hope, now I just hope they go somewhere else. Problem solved.
Before Hope, I foolishly thought I should fund rehab programs. Now I just hope addicts make better choices. My budget has never looked better.
Hope let me vote against every single bill that would actually help people. But I can still say, I care. It's perfect.
Side effects may include chronic inaction, delusions of progress, the ability to watch people suffer while feeling like you tried, sudden urges to post, praying for you on social media instead of volunteering, complete immunity to statistics showing current policies don't work, and the inexplicable belief that wanting something to change is pretty darn good. Prolonged use may result in generational poverty, preventable deaths, communities in crisis, and the supernatural ability to blame victims for systemic failures.
Call 1-800-DONOTHING. That's 1-800-DONOTHING. Hope comes with free thoughts and prayers and awareness campaign templates. Government-issued Hope is not suitable for addressing root causes or helping people in crisis. Hope works best when combined with budget cuts, stigma, and a complete refusal to listen to experts. By relying on Hope, you acknowledge that you're comfortable watching people die while pretending you care, and that feeling like you tried is more important than actually trying. Hope.
A bipartisan production.
The spiritual principle behind step 2 is hope. Not the saccharine greeting card bullshit kind of hope, but the desperate clinging to a life raft kind of hope where, maybe, just maybe, you're not completely fun. See, when you've tried to get sober 10, 15, 20 times and you failed every single time, hope becomes a radical act. Hope becomes the difference between taking another shot of recovery and eating a bullet, if I'm going to be perfectly blunt. Hope is what allows you to believe that this time it might be different, even when all evidence suggests otherwise. The hope in step 2 isn't about believing that everything is going to work out perfectly. It's about believing that something somewhere has the power to do what you can't, that recovery is possible even when your own efforts have failed spectacularly and repeatedly. Think about it. If your own thinking could solve your addiction, you'd already be sober. If willpower was enough, you'd have stopped after the first overdose or the first DUI, the first time you woke up in your own vomit wondering what happened to your life. But you didn't stop, did you? Because addiction hijacks the very organ you need to recover from addiction. It's like trying to perform surgery on yourself. You're technically capable, but you're missing some critical perspective. The higher power, whatever form it takes, represents hope that something outside the closed loop of your own self-destructive thinking can break the cycle. It doesn't have to be God. It can be the group. It can be the program itself. It can be the universe. It can be science. It can be love. It can be your unshakable belief that your kids deserve better than what you've been giving them. The point isn't the object of the belief. The point is the act of hoping that something beyond your damaged will can restore your sanity. And, a lot of people at least say that the word sanity, turns them off. That's such a terrible excuse to give up on a program you didn't want to try to begin with if you're going to use the excuse, I'm not insane. Because, let's talk about that word for a minute, sanity. Because when you're in an active addiction, you're functionally insane. I don't mean that as an insult. I mean it as a clinical observation. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. It's knowing that drinking will make your life worse, but you drink anyway. It's about promising yourself you'll only have one and then waking up 3 days later in a different state. It's choosing substance over everything and everyone you claim to love, and then acting surprised when you end up all alone. That's not rational behavior. That's not sane behavior. That's the behavior of someone whose reward system has been hijacked by chemicals that literally rewire the brain to prioritize short-term relief over long-term survival. Restoration to sanity means getting your priorities back in order. It means being able to think past the next drink, the next hit, the next temporary escape from reality. It means remembering that you're a human being with hopes and dreams and relationships that matter more than whatever chemical piece you've been chasing. But you can't think your way back to sanity. Thinking is what got you into this mess. You need something bigger than your own thoughts to pull you out. So how do you actually work step 2 when your relationship with traditional concepts of God is somewhere between non-existent and actively hostile? Well, first, you need to stop making it about God. Step 2 doesn't say you have to believe in God at all. It says you have to believe in a power greater than yourself, which, correct me if I'm wrong, that's pretty much anything, And unless you think you're literally the most powerful force in the universe, right? It isn't that hard to find something. The ocean is more powerful than you. Gravity is more powerful than you. Love is more powerful than you. The collective wisdom of everyone who's gotten sober before you is more powerful than you. The simple fact that you're still alive despite your best efforts to kill yourself suggests that something more powerful than your addiction is at work. Second, you start small. You don't have to believe in cosmic justice or divine intervention. You just have to believe that recovery is possible. You have to believe that other people have gotten sober and that whatever power allowed them to recover might be available to you too. I got sober. The power I used is absolutely available to you. Third, you get humble. And I mean really humble, not oh shucks humble, but the bone deep humility that comes from recognizing that the way you've been trying hasn't been working, or the way you've been living has been, I hate to say failing, but not a success. That maybe you don't have all the answers, and that maybe the same mind that convinced you that just one more drink, one more hit wouldn't hurt, that might not be the most reliable source of guidance for your life. The group is a higher power for a lot of us. For me, at least initially, was my higher power, and that makes sense. The group has collective experience that I didn't have and that you don't have. The group has stayed sober in situations that would have driven you to drink, and the group knows things about recovery that you haven't learned yet, that I hadn't learned yet. And more importantly, the group wants you to succeed without wanting anything from you in return. That's huge. They're not trying to get anything from you. They're trying to give you something. Their sobriety actually gets stronger when they help you get sober. That's the way the 12-step program works. And that's not normal human behavior. In most areas of life, people help you because they want something back. But in recovery, people help you because they remember what it was like, and because helping you helps them stay sober. And if that's not a miracle, I don't know. At least it's working towards one. What your ego doesn't want you to know about step 2 is that it's not about finding God. It's about firing yourself as general manager of the universe. Your ego wants you to believe that admitting powerlessness, that believing in something greater than yourself somehow diminishes you. It wants you to think that asking for help is a weakness and that surrendering is giving up, that you should be able to handle this on your own. But your ego is what got you here. Your ego is what kept telling you that this time it would be different, that you can control it, that you're smarter than everyone else who's ever tried and failed before you, and that you got this. Your ego is not your friend in recovery. Your ego is the voice that whispers, just one, or you've been good and you deserve this. Your ego is addiction's best friend and recovery's worst enemy. Step 2 is about putting your ego in the passenger seat and letting something else drive for a while. Something that actually knows where it's going. The paradox of powerlessness, and this is the most beautiful, twisted irony of the whole thing. Admitting powerlessness is what gives you your power back. Acknowledging that you can't control your addiction is what allows you to start controlling your life again. When you start trying to control something that can't be controlled, like addiction, you exhaust yourself. You're fighting an unwinnable war. But when you surrender that fight and focus on what you can control, like your actions, your choices, your willingness to ask for help, suddenly you have energy and attention available for things that actually matter. So there you have it. Step 2 in all its uncomfortable, ego-bruising, life-saving glory. The step that asks you to believe in something greater than yourself without specifying what that something is. The step that promises restoration to sanity without guaranteeing it's going to be comfortable. If this helped, please don't keep it to yourself like it's your dealer's phone number. Subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast fix. Share it. Someone else needs to hear that step 2 does not have to require religious trauma. I can't compete with algorithm-friendly content. All I can do is to tell you my truth from my experience and hope that that's enough to get you to spread it, because I'm sure there's someone out there I can help. Take care. Be safe. Choose wisely.